Stop what you are doing. Put everything else down. What happens on April 12th has not happened in Aries in your lifetime. Mars, the planet of war, of will, of the fire that decides, is about to walk directly into Neptune, the planet of dreams, of fog, of everything that exists just beyond the edge of what you can prove. And when the warrior meets the mystic at 2 degrees of Aries, the sign that governs every beginning you have ever attempted, something burns away. Not gently, not gradually. The way fog burns away when the sun finally has enough heat behind it to mean it. Most people will feel this transit as confusion, a strange blurring of what they thought they knew, a restlessness with no clear object, a fire in the chest that has no name. They will blame it on the weather, on the news, on a bad night's sleep. They will never know they were standing inside one of the rarest configurations the sky produces in any given year. A warrior in the ocean, a sword made of water, a direction that feels like a dream, and a dream that demands you actually move toward it. But you are here. And what I am about to tell you about April 12th is not something you will find in a standard forecast, because what is happening when Mars meets Neptune in Aries is not simply a blending of two planetary energies. It is a question, the most dangerous kind of question the sky knows how to ask. Not what do you want to fight for, but what are you willing to stop fighting against? In the next few minutes, you will understand 3 things about this transit that almost no one is saying out loud. First, why the combination of Mars and Neptune in Aries is not the weakened, confused energy most astrologers will describe, and what it is actually capable of producing when you understand what it is asking. Second, the specific things this transit is burning away in your life right now, whether you have named them or not, and why your body has already been registering this transit for days before it peaks. And third, the precise practice for this window, not a meditation, not a visualization, a specific act of release that works with the particular fire this transit carries. The fire that does not build, it dissolves. The clock is already running. April 12th arrives, whether you understand it or not. What changes when you understand it is everything. Let me tell you what is physically happening in the sky on April 12th. Because this transit has coordinates, it has a degree, and that degree tells a story that the headlines will never give you. Mars will conjoin Neptune at 2 degrees and 39 minutes of Aries. That is the 2nd degree of the entire zodiac, the very opening of the fire cycle. Mars is already at home in Aries. This is its own sign, the territory it rules, the battlefield it knows. But Neptune is a visitor here. Neptune has spent the last 14 years in Pisces, submerged in the deep oceanic sign where it is most comfortable, where everything dissolves softly, where the spiritual and the mundane blur without friction. Neptune entered Aries just over a year ago, and it is still learning how to move in fire. Think about what that means. The planet of dissolution, of fog, of everything that is true but cannot be proven, has entered the sign of raw directed force. And now Mars, the ruler of that sign, walks directly into Neptune's arms. This is not Neptune's natural element. This is Neptune being asked to be fire, being asked to move, being asked to act on what it has only ever been able to feel. And the result is one of the most complex and powerful configurations the sky can offer. Because what Neptune brings when it is forced into action is not ordinary action. It is action from the soul's deepest knowing, not what the mind has decided, not what the strategy recommends, what the soul actually came here to do, finally moving, finally willing to cross from vision into motion. The ancient sky watchers understood this combination as the dissolution of false wars. When the warrior meets the mystic, every battle that was being fought for the wrong reason loses its fuel. Not because you gave up, because the fog that made it look like the right battle burns away, and what is left is only the real thing, the thing actually worth moving toward. And that clarification is not comfortable, because some of you have been fighting battles for years that were never yours to fight. Battles inherited from your family, battles waged in the name of other people's expectations, battles against yourself disguised as battles for a better life. Mars meets Neptune in Aries on April 12th, and it reaches into every one of those battles and asks a question that cannot be unasked. Is this actually yours? Now let me bring this into your body. Because the cosmos does not send messages only through dates and degrees. It sends them through sensation. And if you have been paying attention to yourself in the days leading up to April 12th, you may have already noticed something shifting in ways you cannot entirely explain. A strange directionlessness, not sadness, not depression, something more like the feeling of trying to walk through water. Every action you attempt requires slightly more effort than it should. Every decision feels slightly more distant than usual, as though the part of you that normally reaches out and grabs the next thing has momentarily pulled back. This is Mars entering Neptune's orbit before the conjunction is exact, the warrior in the water. Your will is not gone, it is dissolving temporarily into a larger awareness before it refocuses. A heightened sensitivity to other people's energy. You may have noticed that you are absorbing the emotional atmosphere of rooms and conversations with unusual intensity, that other people's moods are landing on you harder than usual, that you can feel things you cannot see and know things you cannot prove. This is Neptune amplifying Mars's already acute sensitivity to the environment. In Aries, this lands as a kind of psychic directness. You know who is real and who is performing. You know which spaces are depleting you. You know which direction is actually calling you, even if you cannot yet name it. An unusual clarity about what is draining you. This is perhaps the most important signal of all. In the days approaching this conjunction, many people report a sudden and irrevocable loss of tolerance for things they have been enduring. Relationships that have been taking more than they give. Obligations that have been costing energy without returning it. Versions of themselves they have been maintaining for other people's comfort. Neptune in Aries burns the pretense. Mars in Aries has no patience for what is not true. Together, they create a window of extraordinary clarity about what has been draining the well. And there is something else, something quieter, a dream direction, a sense of something calling from slightly ahead of where you currently are. Visible in the periphery, but not in the center of your vision. The way stars are easier to see when you do not look directly at them. That pull is the real Mars-Neptune conjunction in Aries speaking, not the confusion version, the visionary version, the place where the warrior finally receives a direction worthy of its fire. Now let me tell you what is specifically burning away. Because this transit is not random in its dissolution. Neptune dissolves what is built on illusion. Mars in Aries executes without apology. Together on April 12th, they form a particular kind of fire that has 3 specific targets. The first thing burning away is the identity you have been performing for people who were never going to be satisfied anyway. Neptune dissolves the need for external validation when it meets Mars in Aries. Aries is the sign of authentic selfhood, of being exactly what you are before the world has a chance to tell you who to be. When Neptune moves through this sign, it strips away every layer of performed identity until only the actual person remains. If you have been presenting a version of yourself that is slightly modified, slightly softened, slightly adjusted for the comfort of people around you, April 12th begins the process of making that performance feel unbearable to maintain. Not because something external changed, because something internal has stopped pretending it is fine. The second thing burning away is the strategy you have been using to approach a dream that actually requires a completely different approach. Mars is strategy and force. Neptune is the dream itself. When they meet in Aries, they expose the gap between how you have been trying to reach what you want and what would actually get you there. Many people carry a vision for their life that they have been pursuing with tools that are fundamentally wrong for it, forcing what needs to flow, controlling what needs to be trusted, fighting for what would come naturally if you stopped fighting. The Mars-Neptune conjunction in Aries does not take the dream away. It burns away the wrong strategy for getting there and leaves you with the one that was always true. The third thing burning away is the battle cry that is not actually yours. In Aries, Mars carries the warrior archetype at its most elemental. Every person has an Aries area of their chart where they fight, where they push, where they generate motion. And for many of you, the battles you have been fighting in this area of your life have been inherited rather than chosen. The expectations your family had for what you should be defending. The causes you picked up because someone told you they mattered more than your own direction. The chronic low-level warfare against yourself dressed up as self-improvement. Neptune in this transit dissolves the inherited battle cry. What remains is the only fight that was ever really yours. Now let me tell you what this conjunction is simultaneously building, because dissolution is only half the story. When Neptune's fog burns away in the heat of Mars and Aries, what is left behind is not emptiness. It is visibility, the kind of visibility that only comes after the fog clears, when the landscape has always been there, but you have not been able to see its actual shape until this moment. What becomes visible on April 12th is the specific direction that has been waiting for you beneath all the noise. Not the direction you chose from fear, not the direction you chose to satisfy someone else, not the direction that looked logical from the outside while feeling hollow from the inside. The direction that your soul has been pointing toward since before you learned to doubt your own compass. This is what Mars-Neptune in Aries can produce when you approach it consciously, not confusion, revelation, not dissolution, clarification, not weakness. The specific and unusual strength that comes from finally moving towards something that is actually real. There is a practice for this window, and it is different from the Aries new moon practice, because this transit does not ask for declaration. It asks for release. Mars-Neptune does not reward force, it rewards willingness. The willingness to let something go so completely that you do not try to retrieve it in a more acceptable form. On the evening of April 12th, when the conjunction is exact, do one thing before you sleep. Find a piece of paper, actual paper, something you can hold, and write at the top of the page these words: "The battle I am done fighting is," and then finish the sentence. Not the battle that looks noble when you describe it to other people. The actual battle you are exhausted by. The one that has been draining your life force in a way that you have been calling by a different name. Discipline, duty, perseverance, love. Call it what it actually is. Write it on the paper. Then below that line, write this: "What I am freeing that energy for is," and finish that sentence too. Not a plan. One real direction. One actual thing that is worth the fire you have been spending somewhere else. Fold the paper, take it outside. If you can light it safely, burn it. Watch the words turn to smoke and understand that smoke is not loss. Smoke is transformation. What was written becomes something the air now carries. The battle you named releases from your body. The direction you named enters the atmosphere as intention. If you cannot burn it safely, tear it deliberately into small pieces and let the wind take it, or place it in running water and watch it dissolve. Neptune in Aries understands all three elements. What matters is the release. What matters is the act of finally meaning it. This is not a small moment. April 12th is not a minor transit buried in a busy forecast. This is Mars, the planet that rules your will and your direction, meeting Neptune, the planet that rules what is true beyond proof, at the second degree of the entire zodiac. In a year when Aries already carries the charge of a Saturn-Neptune conjunction that cracked a 36-year cycle just weeks ago. The fog that burns away on April 12th has been there longer than you realize, and what becomes visible beneath it has been waiting longer than you think. You did not find this moment by accident. Something in you recognized this frequency before you had a name for it. The strange heaviness behind your ribs in recent days, the directionlessness that felt different from ordinary confusion, the dream pull at the edge of your vision that kept appearing and disappearing before you could name it. Your body has been registering this transit for days. Your soul has been preparing for this release longer than that. The warrior meets the mystic on April 12th, and what burns away is not who you are. It is everything you have been pretending to be in place of that. The heaviest chains are not the ones others place on you. They are the ones you have been calling your identity for so long, you forgot they were ever anything else. If something moved inside you while you listened, write it in the comments, not the edited version, the one that changed your breathing when you heard it. Your words become a signal for the next person who has been carrying the same inherited battle, the same false identity, the same strategy for the wrong dream. They need to see that someone else has already been willing to name it. If a face came to mind while you listened, someone who has been fighting a battle that is not theirs with energy that belongs somewhere else entirely, send them this. The fog is clearing. The direction is visible, and the 48 hours around April 12th are the window the sky gives you to finally put down the sword that was never meant for you. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because in the coming days I will walk you through what April 19th delivers after this fog clears, and what Mars conjunct Saturn in Aries means for the direction that is emerging. Every video takes hours of research and preparation. Your like, your comment, your share is what keeps this work alive. The universe has spoken. What comes next is in your hands.